Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi and welcome to Midweek Magic, where I want you to grow your collection by winning 2 free rare or better ICRs each and every week. To many, this Midweek Magic is going to look like another new experimental format. But in actuality, we have done this before. In fact, about a year and a half ago, back in August of 2023, I have to say they did a little better job this time around communicating it. That the first land that you enter as the starting player will enter tapped. Just the first land. So there are some fundamental truths here about this format, and let's talk about it and talk about some deck potential concepts here. But before we get into all of that, this whole Midweek Magic thing has become a bit of a tradition here at the Stronghold, and it all started with our crack team of researchers discovering that we were the only YouTube channel making consistent, proactive, and timely Midweek Magic coverage. And here we are years later, and it appears that we're still the only ones out there doing it for the budget community. So be sure to subscribe to the Planeswalker Stronghold so that we can be here for you every chance we get. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. Before we go any further, I want to absolutely acknowledge that this is an Alchemy-based event, and well, that's just gonna rub some people the wrong way. It's just the reality of the format. For those that are considering maybe not playing, I have to remind you that nearly 2/3 of your standard legal cards, and therefore probably your decks, are also legal in Alchemy. And once you start playing, if you find yourself in a match where you're facing Alchemy-based game mechanics that you just aren't enjoying, I highly recommend just saving your frustration, concede that particular hand, and move on to a more enjoyable play experience. This is a game, after all, and you may as well enjoy it. So when I start to think about this format, 2 fairly fundamental truths really come to mind. The first off is that since your first land on the play is going to come into play tapped, playing 3-4 of those tap tempo common lands is really not going to hurt your deck tempo overall, because there's a good chance that you can play that on turn 1 with no penalty. And depending upon how your deck is built, there are certainly going to be other places that you can play it where it does not directly affect your ability to curve out given the other cards that are in your hand. This line of thought then brings 2 deck styles into mind. The first being the Life Gain Matters deck, because, well, the gain lands do just that, and getting a life gain trigger just by playing a land where the tempo doesn't necessarily hurt you is a pretty good thing. We also had the deserts that deal appointed damage to your opponent come in with Outlaws of Thunder Junction, and of course those function very nicely in any deck that is fundamentally concerned about dealing damage to your opponent, like the Rakdos Lizards deck, for instance. On the other side of this coin, however, we've got those fast aggro decks, particularly something like Mono Red Rush, that is looking to consistently get a creature, hopefully with haste, into play and dealing damage right from turn 1. This particular style, as well as maybe aggro in general, may be best avoided in this particular subgenre of Alchemy. Alright, so first off I wanted to start with a black-white life gain deck, as I alluded to, and thus I give you slow bats. The only 1-drop in the deck is Moment of Triumph, which should have been in your Foundation starter packs if I remember correctly. Gives a creature +2/+2 as a combat trick, and you gain 2 life, which within this deck will unleash mayhem of its own. 3 alchemy cards that I added to this. To be of note, you may or may not want to craft these. Captivating Crossroads is a fantastic land for alchemy, but it does rotate here a couple of months, so do be aware of that. Sanguine Soothsayer is just a great on-theme bat cleric. with lifelink and cares about life gain, and gives you copies of Sanguine Bond, which whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life, so it kind of makes it a double-edged sword. Also, we've got Golden Sidekick, a 2-mana, 1/3 flying lifelinker. Whenever you gain life, a random creature card in your hand perpetually gets +X/+X, where X is the amount of life you gained. This gets out of control really, really fast. And in fact, this just got nerfed in Alchemy. It was a 2-mana 2/2, very, very strong. The only rares in this deck that aren't free to play rares, Restless Fortress obviously cares about gaining and losing life, because whenever the land attacks, defending player loses 2 life, you gain 2 life, and again, that may trigger other things within the deck. Essence Channeler is our 2-mana 2/1 Bat Cleric. As long as you've lost life this turn, this creature has flying and vigilance. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on the creature. When this creature dies, put its counters on target creature you control. So it never stops. It's the Energizer Bunny of bats. And of course, Zoraline Cosmos Collar is one of those old callback cards. This was in the jump-in deck for Bloomburrow that was themed for bats. So it should be an easy have here. All of these other 3 things are basically things that should already be in your collection if you've been following the plan here for a while. Deep Cavern Bats, Sheltered by Ghosts, all just really strong, stable cards. And most of them care about life gain or enable life gain in some way. Now, one thing that I also did in preparation for making this primer video was take a look at the Alchemy meta. And granted, it's just within a couple days of the new Alchemy editions, so I'm sure there's some things that have not shaken out yet. But one thing that really surprised me is the most played deck by far, with a 4.46% of the meta, is a Simic deck. And no matter which account I pulled this up on, I had all the cards for it, and it had a 59% win rate. So I figured we needed to take a look. And believe it or not, this is almost a card-for-card recreation of the Simic starter deck that we got last summer. So very, very approachable place to start. Alright, so when it came to slow Simic, I kept things pretty simple and really just started with that baseline deck that we talked about. I did, however, add some of the great cards that we got in the Foundation starter decks, like Scavenging Ooze, Zimone, let's see here, Prime Speaker Zingana. Yeah, I think that was pretty much all the adds. I may have added like a Green Blade or an Axe Jaw, some things that really you should have just kind of lying around in your bulk bin, so to speak. I also added a little bit of card draw through the Props of Memory, and Mossborn Hydra, that was another card from Foundations that found its way in here. But with all the Explore triggers and things like that, you really do get a lot of card draw. Also put in a Hornlock Whale, just because it's a flash speed 6/6 that can come down and gives you an adventure as well. And this was a card that was readily available at the time through the various Jumpstart packs from the Wilds of Eldraine set. So all in all, this deck is not meant to be super powerful. Its superpower is in its accessibility for newer players. And hey, just in case you didn't catch all that, Matt would like you to know that the deck list that we discussed in this video is going to have a link down in the doobly-doo to take you over to Aetherhub, along with a link to any other alternative lists that you might wish to consider. He only asks that you give it a little thumbs up when you're over there checking out the deck list. And I plan on live playing this event on Wednesday at 11 a.m. over on my Twitch channel, so definitely stop in and check it out. Because the Stronghold is so much more than just a YouTube channel, and you can find links to all of our other social media outlets in our profile. Because at the end of the day, we're all budget players. And as a community, we're stronger together. So like, comment, subscribe, follow, do all those things to show a little love. It's appreciated more than you know.